Hello, my friends, and welcome back. So, I ask people, who's the biggest Satmar Chassid? Who's the biggest one? Everybody's giving names. In my personal opinion, it's Mandami, right? Mandami is the biggest Satmar Chassid. Bibi comes to New York. I don't know. I have to follow the courts of the whatever it's called, the UN, right? Gotta follow them. I have to arrest him. Even the Tur Karta didn't think of such a thing, right? This is Mandami, the biggest Satmar Chassid. No wonder he gets so he's so good with them, right? Mandami, he's always talking about the homeless. The homeless. He's a homeless guy who now happened to become president. Not mayor, right? The homeless guy happened to become mayor. Now all the homeless come to him. He doesn't recognize them. Who are you, right? Free this, free that. It was nothing, right? It's like you have a guy that's a homeless guy, but he decided, you know what? Maybe God will strike me, So he buys a lottery ticket, and lo and behold, he wins. And all of a sudden, his friends come to him. They don't even know that he won. They come to him. Oh, how's it going, John? And he just looks at them. Who are you to talk to me? I'm such a hush of a person, right? How the money in 2 seconds turned him the other way, right? Being the mayor, there's a lot of under the table free Bitcoin to take from the tax dollar money, So, Kitzer. The Zach today is to be broke. Broke is the in style. It used to be, to feel like someone special. You have to be a nice person, spiritual person, and that you make money. You understand? Today, broke is the way. Like if someone's making money, they're like, oh my goodness, he's off the derech. I feel bad for him. He'll never get married. If he's married, he'll never be able to marry off his kids. Right? A nebuch, that's how they think of him. But if they see a guy is broke, especially if he's in chayvus, you understand? Everybody thinks that he's learning, because it's like synonymous. Like, look at that. Broke is the in style, right? That's all the Rabbanim talk about. Don't think about money, just learn, everything will happen. Don't think about money, right? Broke is the in style Zach today. That's it. Broke is the way. When I go in the street and I want to feel like someone special, like, I just think about how broke I am and I don't have a penny to my name. I don't have chayvus, but I don't have any money either. Broke is the way. And I walk in the street with the gaiva that I'm broke. You understand? Broke is the style. Broke is the way. That's the new Zach today. Someone has money. The Rosh Hashivas come to them. Little nebuch, let me count the dollars for you. Right, let me count the coins. Okay, 4 quarters is $1. The little nebuch, you understand? Sometimes they have a big guy, Okay, let me count those $1,000 bills for you. I'm not sure if you understand how much belongs to you. You understand? They look at them as nebuchs and they're taking their money. You understand? Well, when a guy when they meet a broke guy, they're like, that's a real yid, you understand? Broke is the way. That's the real things today. That's the real thing, broke. If it came to a situation, like if you're broke, if you make money, they're thinking that you're such a nebuch and that you'll never get married, that your kids will never find shidduchim, your wife will divorce you. This is what goes through their mind, that if you make money, you actually feel like an anav. You become humble. The more money you make, the bigger, the more of an anav you become. But the more broke you are, especially when you go into the chayvus areas, the Rosh Hashivas, wow, this is like, who's the biggest Rosh Hashiva? The one that has more chayvus. That's you understand? So, today, if you want to get any sliver of anava, of humility, you got to be, you got to start making, you got to start making good geld. You understand? I was thinking about, we just had the yard side of Reb Shloimeh and Reb Shach, I believe on the same day. Look at that. The Heilige Reb Shloimeh. So I was thinking, Reb Shach was very against Chabad, and, because of that Meshachis situation, which it seems like he wasn't wrong, But I thought that Reb Shach and Reb Shloimeh, I think they're on the same day as the yard side. So I think Reb Shloimeh is the tikkun that Reb Shach was looking for, you understand? Reb Shach, so before we explain that, let's just, who's the biggest, let's just mention this. Who's the biggest Talmud from BMG and Chabad? Reb Shloimeh is the biggest Talmud. Who caused more effect in the whole world than Reb Shloimeh right? Anybody in Chabad caused what he caused besides the Rebbe himself? No one, right? In BMG, is there anybody that affected like the whole world the way Reb Shloimeh did? No one, right? Reb Shloimeh, right? So Reb Shloimeh is the biggest Talmud of BMG, the biggest Talmud of Chabad, and Reb Shloimeh people, they consider the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, to be a big tzaddik, but they do not believe that he is Mashiach, meaning the way Chabad said that he has to be Mashiach. Some are saying he's still alive. I think most of them are, and all this. No one else can be Mashiach. Only the Rebbe can be Mashiach. Reb Shloimeh, whoever Hashem wants to be Mashiach will be. It's not my place to get into these things. That's Reb Shloimeh. So Reb Shach has the same yard set as Reb Shloimeh. Reb Shloimeh is the tikkun. You understand? He's the one that made that's the peacemaker. The Roidev Shalom over here. He made the peace. You understand? He created the Yimechabed the Rebbe, but at the same time, you don't sit and say, you don't get into this whole Indian of Mashiach. You leave that up to God. You leave that up to Hashem. And I was just thinking, getting back to Mandami. We're talking about before, one of the homeless guys, So, Reb Shloimeh would work a lot with the homeless people, Every homeless person that you meet, whether it was a yid or a guy that met Reb Shloimeh, they became a person that, liked Yidden. Reb Shloimeh was that, one of the highest level Jews out there, you understand? So when they met him, his love for every single person, his care, his devotion is unmatched, and he did that with getting hit and smacked, from all angles, you understand? But he kept on doing good and ignored all the negativity. You understand? Wow, Reb Shloimeh, one of the greatest people that ever lived. And so I always think that Mandami comes from the homeless people, because you always talk about homeless. He must have been one of them. So I always say, if Reb Shloimeh was alive now, and Mandami was by one of his events, Mandami would be one of the biggest Ohev Yisraels, right? Because we were in Zeiche, Reb Shloimeh, he died early, so Mandami never met him. And that's why he stayed a Seinei Yisrael. But if Mandami met Reb Shloimeh, whoa, there would be no force on the universe that could stop him. All right, guys. I hope you like the jokes. Have a wonderful day.